welcome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rohan Khanna, and I represent Practice League, a company dedicated to designing and delivering legal technology solutions. And the topic for today is legal transformation. I would say a topic for this session is very close to our heart and I think our pockets as well. However, in case if you're wondering if this is a sales presentation, it is not, at least not explicitly. For the next 15 minutes, I'll try my best to share some discussions and thoughts that I have learned in my interactions with the legal community. Now, as the session talks about legal transformation and the agenda for today is legal leadership, I think they tie into one another. So most leaders today are trying to empower their teams and make their businesses more effective. One of the tools that has been identified to do this is technology. However, one of the primary concerns that, or pain points I would say that I've come to know of is the utilization of technology. Now what I mean by that is for various reasons, companies or legal teams at times either are unable to utilize the technologies that have been implemented within the organization or may be concerned with the implementation itself being too overwhelming and may not even take that first step. So, however, with better understanding, it is possible to overcome that. And the primary factor in helping you overcome this challenge is knowledge. So one of, I think, the statistics I may want to talk about is there was a survey conducted by Legal Tech News which found that most common challenges faced by legal departments in implementing legal technology are budget constraints, difficulty integrating with existing systems, and lack of internal expertise. A similar survey by Association of Corporate Counsel, ACC, found that the top 3 challenges implementing legal technology are integrating with existing systems, lack of internal expertise, and data privacy. So if you realize there are 2 common factors in this. One is integration and the other is expertise. And that's what we really want to cover in today's session. So integration being the primary factor. So when we say that technology is extremely important, and most teams would feel that we have some head start there. There are already systems in place. We have technologies taking care of a lot of our work. However, it's not just about getting new systems and starting to use them. They have to work in harmony with one another. So this is a situation in most teams that we come across, that there are, even if there are systems in place, they are segmented, they are separate. So you may have a system for managing matters, another system for managing compliances, another system that helps you with your contracting maybe. So if they work independently or in isolation, you may not be able to utilize them properly. So what legal transformation actually says is that you need to consolidate them into a singular unified platform. Now, frankly, I tried my best to find a very simple explanation for this, and eventually I resorted to searching on ChatGPT, so using technology to explain technology here. What it says is legal technology transformation is implementing technology solutions to transform and modernize legal practice, to streamline legal operations and improve efficiencies and enhance decision making, which is essentially what I think most companies in this space have been trying to do, focus on modernizing. Why modernizing is important here? So it's not just necessary for you to have systems or technologies in place. I mean, I can still send out most of my communication by post, but is it the most effective form of technology as of today? Not really. We have to move forward with times. We have to keep an eye out on what else is happening around us. So the first thing was looking at an integrated platform. You do not want your systems to work in isolation because eventually that may lead to complications in form of reporting, extra manual work, teams not being able to share knowledge with one another, and as we've seen in hybrid working environments, you may struggle to get access to information very simply. A test we can do immediately is, let's say you're sitting in this room, you have access to all of your documents, you have access to your systems, but if you receive a call right now to search for a contract that was signed 5 years ago, if you're able to do that right now in the next few minutes, I think you are on the right path. But if you're unable to do that search right away on your phone in the next few minutes, that means there is some work to do. We still have to integrate those technologies and get you that information on your fingertips. So this is, mean, you go to any marketing website for any technology company, you'll find a combination of these benefits everywhere. Is that just a marketing gimmick? To some extent, maybe, but largely there is a lot of truth to this as well. Technology has been advertised or is designed with an intent to have a bigger impact on your day-to-day businesses. So one of the business impacts that have been scientifically proven is that it does reduce the manual work for the teams. So when your teams are operating on a day-to-day basis, if you really want to help them become a little more effective, you want to give them more time for themselves, you want them to manage their work-life balance properly, technology would be the right way to look forward. In fact, I think one of the concerns people have often spoken about is technology really a competition for our business? I'm not sure about future, to be very honest. It may become one day, but as of today, how things stand as of right now, it is actually one of your team members. So you can think of maybe a system as one of your paralegal or a researcher or a lawyer, part of your team. Like most of your team has their own roles, KPIs, and metrics. It may be important to assign a role and responsibility to technology as well. Do you want the technology to be your lead researcher? Then maybe you want to look at tools that will help you in researching on a day-to-day basis. Or do you want a technology to fulfill the role of maybe an operations manager who can take care of your budgets, your liabilities, can look at coordinating tasks within the department? So it's actually you who has to decide what role technology really plays within the organization. Now, how to really go about it is to make sure at least your core areas are to some way supported by technology. I mean, so when you look at legal transformation, there are a lot of tools, a lot of options out there which can be quite overwhelming. But a good starting point would be to look at the core applications. What is the foundation of legal transformation? So the first part, I would say, is organizing all of your matters, the legal expenses, your spending. And matters, I don't necessarily just mean your litigations, your cases, your arbitrations. It could be your intellectual properties, it could be your advisory, opinion, the queries that you receive on a day-to-day basis from different stakeholders. They can be immediately and very easily automated using systems. Another part is contracting, a very important part. In fact, in the past few years, a lot of us have discovered, maybe not a pleasant experience, I would say, that getting access to contracts or information within those contracts has not been easy in hybrid working environments. So that is where we've seen a surge in demand. A lot of companies are already looking at automating their contracting solutions. So that, I would say, is the foundation. Same goes for compliance management. So your governance, tracking your compliances, what needs to be done at a regulatory stage or internal compliances can be automated quite quickly. The other part is managing your entities, all the entities you may have across different jurisdictions, because there are different compliances, there are different matters, different teams who are overseeing them. So it could be extremely chaotic if you try to look at systems in isolation. Imposing an entity management system gives you a little bit of better structure and a higher level of board reporting as well. So essentially, when we talk to legal teams who are trying to implement such technologies, they maybe are unsure where to start off with. So what our recommendation is to break down your approach into three parts. So I understand that most people today are fairly comfortable with what they want to do with technology. The trouble lies in how to really go about it. So the immediate recommendation is break down your requirements into three parts, or the implementation, I would say, into three parts. The first part is assessment and planning. What you really want and the clarity on your primary objectives is paramount. It is irreplaceable. We've had circumstances where people start looking at systems without really creating a clear picture of what they require, and a few months down the line, there's a lot of confusion. Different people and teams are expecting different outcomes. And even when the technology is implemented, you don't really know whether you can measure its success, because at the start, you did not really know what to expect, so the results will not be comparable. So the first thing is to really identify what you need, put it down on a piece of paper. It may not necessarily be extremely structured, but at least having an understanding of what you need, detailing that, and then comparing options based on those recommendations or that checklist that you have would not only help you in getting the metrics later on, but even during your, comprehensive understanding of the options you have at your disposal. The other part, once you've done the planning, you've done the assessment, Immediately, we move to supporting the implementation. Uh, Implementation is not just a responsibility of your partners or your vendors. There's a large amount of preparation that may go at your end as well. I say large, it could be minimalistic depending on, again, the preparedness that you have internally. What I mean by this is when you decide to take that plunge and start automating your systems, it is better to be prepared with your data, prepared with some of the reports. What are you anticipating from this system? Do you have the resources readily available? Do you have the buy-in from the stakeholders? Because that is an unforeseen obstacle during implementation that, everything is going smoothly. Suddenly we have, pitchfork, and there is a dilemma. Which direction do we take? Decision making, if it is delayed at that point of time, it can derail implementation. So getting your buy-in from stakeholders at every stage is going to be extremely important. And what we have to do is create awareness at this stage for different members of the teams as to what exercise we are undertaking. And the third part is adoption and optimization. Systems have been rolled out, technologies have been implemented, but 6 months, 7 months, or a year down the line, we feel it's not really giving back. We feel maybe it's not delivering the results that we expected it to do. Is there a way to change that? Is there a way to capitalize on the investment? The only way to really do that is to ensure that there is an ongoing awareness exercises that are undertaken. There are periodic trainings that are taken by your partners to educate not just your legal teams, but also the larger businesses as whole. And over and above that, you're getting periodic updates and upgrades to make sure your systems are relevant and they do not become stagnant. This, again, has been one of the pain points where the systems were rolled out a few years ago, 4 or 5 years, and they're no longer current. The reason why you reach that stage is because in the past, frequently every 6 months or a year, the systems are not regularly updated. So that is what we need to achieve. A simple summary of this process is making sure that at the start, you're assessing your requirements and opportunities at a grassroots level. You're aligning the legal and business goals and making sure the pain points of legal and business are getting addressed. So you need to document that. Evaluate possible solutions. You may have to look at different vendors, suppliers, but you may not be able to really compare them adequately if you do not have a sort of like a report card for yourself when you start off. Then you decide on the scope and you prepare a plan for implementation and then continually monitor the progress. This is a simple methodology. Now, we come to an important subject about transformation itself. So legal transformation is not a simple exercise, or I won't say it's not complicated either, to be honest, but it is an ongoing exercise, I would say. It's not a one-time activity. There are different stages where you can be at. So for example, the first stage for you when you are looking to automate is to create a repository of all the information in one place. So whether you have your contracts, you have your matters, your compliances, if you can say to yourself that I have all of these readily available, I can open up my phone and I can get access to all my contracts, my matters, stage updates, I can get my compliances, all in order, I'm getting alerts and notifications for those, then I think you're at stage 1 right now. That is repository. So the work is not done. We're just at stage 1 when you have a repository. The next stage of evolution when it comes to technology or transformation is streamlining operations. That is where you are able to connect different people, different stakeholders through your workflows. So imagine your SOPs and organizational policies being mirrored and mapped in an application and they being monitored on its own. You do not have to do anything to run those operations. So if approvals are required at different stages, the system knows it needs to be done. Who needs to be contacted for different activities and tasks? The system can do that for you, while of course keeping you in loop. That is streamlining operations. So workflows, approvals, assignments, that is stage 2 of this evolution. The stage 3 is collaboration, giving tools to your team members, external parties, stakeholders. So whether there are people within the organization, people outside the organization, they are able to collaborate on the same platform, communicate with each other without having to go out. I may go back to an analogy that I shared earlier about sending post messages. I mean, That was the way things operated maybe decades ago. Then we moved to SMSs, we moved to emails, we moved now to instant communication. We have Slack, we have Teams. So there are a lot of tools that are available for collaboration. The only thing we need to do at this stage is tie it in, integrate it with your legal tool. So you don't have to learn new skills. You just need to make sure that you're already collaborating using some platforms. They tie in or they connect with your legal systems as well. And you are not working in isolation, you're working with the business. And that is what stage 4 is also all about, integration. You're tying in these multiple systems, you're tying in your businesses. So when we talk about the evolution of general counsels and they're becoming stakeholders in business decisions as well, it is going to be difficult achieving that objective without the systems and your infrastructure also communicating with one another. What I mean is businesses have their own set of tools. They have ERPs, document management systems, finance systems, CRMs, which work very well together. There's a harmony between the business systems, but when you look at your legal tools, you'll realize they work in isolation. They are separate. They are not part of that elite group, the business tools. So what we need to do is we need to eliminate that gap. We need to combine these systems together. So if I have a salesperson who is working on a CRM and they realize that there is a need for a contract, they can just click a button, you receive a notification that they're signing up this X client, this is the project, this is the information, and the system automatically can present the first draft to you. Can you now send that draft to the other party for signing, or do you need to negotiate on it? So you are now left with a decision. You don't have to worry about the process. You don't have to worry about the manual work. What you need to worry about is just taking a call. Do you negotiate or do you sign? So that is what integration is all about. This is just one example of the integration. There could be so many others. And the final stage, or I would say the ultimate stage for transformation, is gathering intelligence. Now, we do talk a lot about artificial intelligence, machine learning, generative AI, legal generative AI. These are fantastic tools. They can still be used as of today, but for them to be really effective, they rely on structured data. What I mean by structured data is not just scanned documents, not just your desktop files, because you'll realize if there are 10 members in the team, they all have access to different files on their own desktops, on their own emails. How will AI scan those files and give you the analytics that you need? It may not be able to do that. So even if I use AI by myself, it will only give me analytics based on my data sets, the documents that I store on my computer, the documents that I upload in those systems. It will not give me a cohesive understanding of what the organization is going through, what are the pain points and requirements of the organization, because it's not getting access to all of that data at the same time for it to do those comparisons. So for it to work, it needs that cohesion, it needs that structured information. And that will only happen once we go through these earlier 3 stages and we have these systems in place. So that is the natural progression. Now, in our experiences, so we've been doing this for over a decade now. I'm not an advocate by profession, though I am an advocate of technology, but been doing this for almost a decade now. And what I have understood is the reasons why technology fails cannot be just one. It can't be you, it can't be just the system, it can't be just the vendor. There could be a lot of factors that come into play. Some of the primary ones we've seen are the resistance that you may experience internally while enforcing these systems. So that's why it's important right at the start to get the buy-in from your users, to get that top level, top-down approvals before you start or take these initiatives, because you don't want to waste time later on running for those approvals when you are at that stage of implementation. Lack of expertise and understanding of how these systems function and what they do. So this is where technically your partner should be helping you out. So you choose or select your vendors carefully, where it's not just the systems that you get from them, you're also looking at the expertise and the experience that you're getting. Budgets, very little I can comment on that. It's very subjective. But yes, that has been a factor in implementations. There is, like I keep saying, the buy-in and the focus for such kinds of implementations. It has to be there right at the start. And awareness. So awareness does not necessarily mean you need to know what kind of systems you're going for. Does your business know what legal is actually doing? Legal is taking a plunge, it's implementing a massive system, but the sales team doesn't even know about it. Next day, they're sending you an email, can you send me a contract right away? You've just put a system spending maybe lakhs, but still they're going back and sending you emails. Why? Because there is a certain lack of awareness. There has to be a conscious effort in making sure the business stakeholders know that processes have changed, systems have changed, and we need to follow this going forward. And that's what brings us to communication. That communication is going to be the key that helps you get that awareness. And I think I just have less than a minute left. And so I'll not take more. This is my last slide. So like we spoke about the reasons for failures, there are some success factors as well. We have identified how companies have been successfully able to implement these systems. The first, of course, being the clarity of what you want, when you want, timelines, budgets, everything right at the start. While it seems impossible task, to be honest, getting everything right, but you can take incremental steps. Start with one. At least know what you want in terms of systems. Getting the right resources, the teams at least aligned. At a minimum, just get some representatives from different teams, if not entire teams themselves. Do thorough testing during this process. Make sure that you're not looking at or just jumping into the systems after the implementation by yourself and getting caught off guard. Test them while they are being implemented. Ask for access to those systems even before your vendor says, you know what, we've done our work. Test that out beforehand. Selection, I think I've spoken about that. It's important to choose the right people that you work with, not just based on systems, features, but also based on past experiences, and success rates are extremely important. A good metric for this could be a retention rate. Are your vendors able to retain clients? Do they have repeat business? That's a good indicator that they're doing well. Training, and I think it goes without saying, without knowing what you're doing, it's going to be impossible to really do a good job. And integration, communication, I've already spoken about, so I won't spend a lot of time there. It goes without saying. So I think finally that brings us to the end. Legal transformation, like I said, is an ongoing exercise. There are a lot of steps involved. It need not be complex. With the right people that you work with internally and externally, it can be a very easy exercise with the right planning. So that's the time I had for today. If you still have any questions, we can connect outside. We have a help desk right outside. My team and we'll be happy to help. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.